Story 1. My husband and I backcountry camped on our second date. He was a pro, so I trusted him, and he said he was impressed by my willingness to be bold and try something adventurous. We spent several hours hiking into a spot with nothing but conversation and the woods. We set up camp and cooked together. The feeling was peace, simply being with each other, working as a team and comfortable with the quiet and the fire. I knew he was the one that night. I always thought love at first sight would be a powerful rush or energy. Turns out it feels like coming home. When your soul feels at peace, that is a green flag, my friends. Story 2. Early in our dating days, I was on a train with my now husband. An inspector was checking tickets as we were about to pull away from the station when my husband spotted a woman running down the platform. He pointed her out to the inspector, who stuck his arm out the window and held the train until she got on. My husband was casual about it and did not think much of it. It was a small gesture that likely made her day. I thought it said a lot about his character that he would help a stranger who did not even know it. I was right. He is still that kind of guy. Story 3. This was one of the most romantic things my husband did early in our relationship. He does not even remember it or think it was a big deal, but it was a huge green flag for me. I was preparing to move to a new apartment and had a lot going on, including trying to coordinate moving out with an expensive heat treatment for bedbugs that my difficult landlord refused to arrange. I was very stressed and drained. While cleaning the fridge, one of the shelves shattered. I was beside myself, frustrated and worried that the landlord would withhold my security deposit after everything I had endured. I vented to my husband, saying I had given up and everything felt like the worst. The next day he told me he had looked up my fridge model, found the shelf as a standalone part, and ordered it. It would arrive in 2 days. I cried. I was so grateful. I was overwhelmed and emotionally exhausted over the bedbugs, the move, and everything else, and the fact that he saw that and just took something off my plate and handled it was such a relief. It showed me what a supportive partner he could be, and it was exactly what I needed. When my parents' dog, which I had grown up with, got old and could no longer jump onto his favorite chair, my husband built a ramp so the dog could still get up to sit with my mother. He matched the ramp to her decor on purpose. These were things he treated as obvious necessities, but they reinforced what a caring, thoughtful, loving, and reliable partner he was. He still seeks out ways to do little things to make my life easier many years later. These specific examples demonstrate the overall green flag qualities he showed. Story 4. My husband and I have endless conversations. There is nothing we cannot talk about. The first time we chatted on the phone, we talked for 6 hours. We have been together for 15 years and still talk several times a day. We love our breakfast time because we chat after eating and really enjoy each other's company. We love talking no matter where we are. Since he also works from home, we often work together. There are many times when we say nothing, just enjoying being around each other. I love that we can talk about anything and it does not descend into an argument. Story 5. They genuinely like being able to do things to help you out and vice versa. Story 6. Taking embarrassing moments in stride. This was pretty literal for me. Sorry, this is my second post. I used to have ulcerative colitis very severely, which led to me soiling myself far more often than one should in their early 20s. When I first started seeing my husband, who has autism spectrum disorder, we'd drive from campus to my apartment and I would be white-knuckle concentrating on not soiling myself in his car. I would run up the stairs, usually barely making it to the bathroom before he walked through the door. One night I didn't make it. I was hiding in the bathroom and turned on the shower because it was a mess. On the other side of the door he asked, "Why are you always so mad at me when we drive to your place? Did I say something?" He had been reading my "try not to soil myself" face as anger. So I came clean and admitted I had just soiled myself, preparing for him to back out slowly and end things as politely as possible since this was within our first 2 months. His response instead was, "Oh, so you just soiled yourself? Where are your jeans?" "In the garbage." "That's silly. Jeans are expensive. The laundromat is locked for the night, but do you have a bucket or something? We can soak them overnight and wash them tomorrow." "You're really not grossed out?" He shrugged. "Not like you could help it. Just talk to me. I thought you were mad. Tell me what's going on." I had feared that exact scenario since I started having ulcerative colitis symptoms. My future husband just rolled with it. Years later, when I had my colectomy, he bathed me in the hospital. After that, when he had to have a circumcision at 25, I cared for his stitches and changed his bandages several times a day, and we laughed about how gross stuff was. He's seriously the best. Story 7. About 4 months into my relationship, I got injured. There was a chance that I would not be able to walk again. My then girlfriend, now my wife, told me not to worry. She said it was going to be okay and that we would figure this out either way. I am okay now, but just knowing she would stay with me no matter what was huge. We have been together 8 years now. We have our challenges, but we both know we are there for each other. Story 8. How good is her company on a drive or when there is nothing to do? My wife and I discovered that we loved simply spending time together. We could talk for hours in the car, and sometimes the drive was more interesting than the destination. A few weeks into our relationship, we went through a drive-through and she spontaneously unwrapped and rewrapped my burger so I could eat it while driving with clean hands. I knew I was going to marry her. In just over a week, it will be 23 years. Story 9. If they respond well when you are dealing with a crisis, when you are seriously ill, or when a family member is seriously ill, they may be a keeper. In other words, how do they act or interact with you during times of stress? Does their presence or behavior help, make things worse, or do they make themselves scarce? Story 10. Both people are genuinely enjoying the conversation and are attentive to each other, with no negative attitude. Story 11. Being weird together after only a couple of dates is rare for me. It usually takes me a long time to open up, but if I can be silly with someone I know, it is a very good sign. I am an introvert and very shy around someone new, especially someone I see as a partner. Story 12. You genuinely enjoy one another's company during dull moments. Life is full of them, and you will want a partner with whom you can enjoy those moments. Story 13. On my second date, before I was supposed to move to another state, we got stuck in a parking garage because of an accident and waited for 45 minutes. We watched a foreign film without subtitles on my phone, talked, and connected even though we had finished our plans and were stuck in the car. I canceled my move and later married her. Update. I just realized today was the day I proposed to her 3 years ago. It is odd that it coincided with the post. Story 14. You can talk for hours about almost anything, and disagreements become interesting discussions instead of fights. Story 15. The ability to apologize is essential. If your partner never sees their faults, it will never work. Story 16. Being able to make each other laugh is important. Understanding the other person's sense of humor is critical in long-term relationships. Do you really want to get serious with someone who cannot make you laugh? Story 17. This occurs when, during an argument, both parties take time to listen, respond thoughtfully to one another, and show genuine concern for their partner's distress, even if it is small. Story 18. It encourages growth but does not try to change your foundation. Story 19. The one that surprised me the most was being upset and telling my boyfriend how I needed him to do specific things, like help me with chores and walk the dog once in a while, because I was overwhelmed and frustrated. He just responded, "Okay. I didn't know you felt like that. I'll try to do better, but please remind me if I forget." And then he did. It seems small and obvious, but holy crap, I don't think I had ever felt more heard. Story 20. You go on a road trip together and still like each other at the end. Story 21. Comfortable silences. If you can enjoy each other's company without needing a distraction, you are usually golden. Thanks for the awards. I would like to thank the Academy and the kind strangers. Story 22. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they apologize or acknowledge when they have done something wrong without making themselves the victim? Story 23. Noticing that the other person does not take themselves too seriously. In the very early days of dating my now husband, we took a long road trip for a romantic getaway in Boston. On the first night in town, we had an expensive dinner at a famous seafood restaurant. The server brought the bill and took my date's credit card. The server returned with the news that the card had been declined. Both of us burst out laughing at the same moment. That was my green flag. Story 24. If you set a boundary, they should respect it. For example, if you say you are more comfortable meeting at the date location after they offer you a ride, they should not insist on picking you up. Story 25. When you feel completely at ease with someone and can be yourself, that is a sign of a healthy connection. Love is like fireworks at first, but if those fireworks come with a warm glow rather than edginess, that is a good sign. Story 26. Being comfortable with time apart is important. Early in our relationship, he went out of town with his family. When he returned, he called to thank me for giving him space and said he missed me and wanted to come over. His previous girlfriend had him on the phone day and night when he traveled, and he was surprised I did not call at all because I was respecting his space. We have been married for 5 years now, and I still do not bother him when he is gone for a weekend. He calls every night before bed. But I do not bug him because I want him to enjoy his time without worrying about me. It helps that I trust him. Story 27. If someone is genuinely busy, they will still make time to see and spend time with you. Story 28. They do not push their preferences on you or pressure you to maintain them. Story 29. They are okay with spending time apart. A significant other or even a friend who can spend time alone and does not need you to be happy is a major green flag. You should improve each other's lives without becoming each other's entire world. Story 30. Open communication about sex and feelings is essential. Holding those feelings in for too long can lead to built-up resentment, communication breakdown, confusion, depression, and other problems down the road. Be willing to raise concerns. If you find someone who can respond in a level-headed way, someone who may not agree but will listen without taking offense, you have a strong partner. I do not believe in relationships without conflicts or concerns. That does not happen. Relationships are bumpy and full of snags, and being able to navigate them together is very important. Story 31. I met my wife when I was unemployed, and she still dated me. Story 32. On my first date with my future spouse, we had planned to spend some time together, then get a bite and be done by evening. When the date was supposed to end, I invited her for a walking tour of my campus. She then invited me on a tour of hers, and later asked if I had ever walked through a pretty nearby neighborhood, so we walked there. It was about 11 p.m. I offered to walk her home. As I was leaving, she invited me in for tea. We sat in her living room, sometimes in long stretches of blissful silence, just smiling, and I did not leave until 2 a.m., 8 hours after the date was meant to have ended. Story 33. When you are around them, you feel like the best version of yourself, the person you want to be. They should not change you. Instead, they naturally bring out your preferred, genuine self. Story 34. This recently happened to my sister. She had been chatting with a man for a while, and it finally felt safe for them to meet. She went out with him and ate something that did not agree with her. Deep-fried pickles are a never-again food now, apparently. She asked him to take her home, and he did. As they were walking to the car, she vomited. He ran and got her a bag, but she vomited all over his shoes. It did not scare him off. He put together a care package with her favorite tea, gravel, a bucket, and other items. It was the sweetest thing I had ever heard. If he would do that for a woman he had met only twice, imagine what he will do for someone he is deeply committed to. They are officially together now. Story 35. Pay attention to how someone treats you when things go wrong. Many people are loving when life is easy, but other behaviors may appear when life is hard. Small examples include how they treat you when they are sick or stressed. It is well worth paying attention to these moments. Edit. Added a little nuance. Story 36. They remember small details from your conversations. This means they pay attention to you and to your interests. Story 37. Did they return their cart to the return area after grocery shopping? I stand by the shopping cart theory as a good indicator of a person's moral compass. Story 38. I asked my then-girlfriend to hand me a screwdriver. She asked, flathead, Phillips, or vodka? It was then I knew she was the one. Story 39. I knew my boyfriend was the one when I asked him how an internal combustion engine actually works. All my life I had been dismissed when I asked because people said I would not understand. He immediately pulled the car over and explained the entire engine, from the crankshaft to the carburetor. Understood and was grateful that he saw I was genuinely interested and took the time to explain. We have been together for over 40 years, and working on our project cars is still one of our favorite pastimes as a couple. He even leaves the crunchy French fries for me, even though they are his favorite too. Story 40. I love it when someone does not mind doing the boring stuff with you and makes even that seem fun. The morning of my first date with my now fiancé, my glasses got a large scratch. Any fellow glasses wearers know that means an immediate trip to the store. I told him I could not hang out for brunch because I had to get it sorted first. He offered to go with me and turned the errand into something fun. We told stories on the way and ended up spending the entire day together, from morning to night. He did it again 2 days later, then the next day, and again a few days after that. We have been inseparable ever since. Story 41. Being able to text someone randomly about anything and have a conversation without worrying that they will ask where that came from or why you bothered to text it. This is a good sign in any relationship, not just romantic ones. Story 42. You like the same form of entertainment. It may sound shallow, but if you end up with someone, you are likely to spend a lot of time watching television, movies, or other entertainment together. Story 43. Having a similar set of values. Agreement about whether to have children and whether to have pets. Making a good first impression on in-laws. That your current life provides enough flexibility to balance work and personal life according to your preferences. Story 44. They accept you for who you are, flaws and all. I am not saying the flaws are ignored. They see them, help you work through them, and encourage you to improve. They also notice the little things that set you apart and celebrate them. My wife recognized my hearing disability from the start and made it clear that she did not mind learning ways to communicate with me when I am in an environment where I cannot hear well. Story 45. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. When I started seeing my now husband, I had ulcerative colitis and underwent a total colectomy. I am a lot better now. He is autistic. I learned a lot about autism from trainings as a tutor and resident assistant because our college had a high population of students on the autism spectrum and was touted as autism-friendly when we attended. When we started seeing each other, he researched attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and ulcerative colitis to learn how to help me when I was sick and how to communicate more effectively, since both of us are neurodivergent. Before our first fight, we discussed rules for arguing. That sounds corny, but it helped. Short version. If you have a condition or difference and your partner goes out of their way to research it, so they can be a positive part of your life and ask better questions about how you navigate your life, commit to them. Story 46. They get your humor and laugh at the jokes you tell. Goddamn, you all just more than doubled my Reddit karma with one post. Laughing out loud. Story 47. On our first date, I introduced her as my future ex-wife. She laughed and quickly replied, "Unless I become a widow first." We have been happily married for almost 10 years. A sense of humor is criminally underrated. Story 48. Early in the relationship, they already treat you the way you wish you had been treated in previous relationships. Story 49. The 4C principles are being considerate, asking for consent, communicating, and compromising. Story 50. The ability to react to negative situations with flexibility, adapting to changes of plans or chaotic, unpredictable events and still enjoying time together, and the willingness to respond with empathy and understanding instead of anger or shaming are two important qualities that made me appreciate my significant other much more early on in our relationship. Story 51. Consistent effort by both parties, not just minimal effort from either. Communication is clear, direct, open, and honest. The person is trustworthy. They have repeatedly shown they do not have anything to hide. Their words match their actions. They have good character. They treat others with respect. There is mutual care for one another. They make the other person feel worthy and valuable. Neither person is controlling over the other. I guess I am still single. Story 52. They do not post every romantic thing you do on Instagram. Story 53. If someone wears their national flag on their clothing and they are from Afghanistan, Algeria, Bangladesh, Belarus, Benin, Bolivia, Brazil, Bulgaria, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Comoros, Djibouti, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Guyana, Hungary, Iran, Iraq, Ireland, Italy, Jamaica, Jordan, Kenya, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Lithuania, Madagascar, Malawi, Maldives, Mali, Mauritania, Mexico, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Oman, Pakistan, Portugal, the Republic of the Congo, Rwanda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, São Tomé and Príncipe, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Solomon Islands, South Africa, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, the United Arab Emirates, Uzbekistan, Vanuatu, Zambia, or Zimbabwe, it is at least a partial green flag. Story 54. For me, it was realizing that I genuinely enjoyed being with her more than being alone. Story 55. Pay attention to a person's friends. Our closest friends reflect who we are. You can tell a lot about someone by the people they spend time with. Also, consider how well they treat people they do not know, such as waiters, bartenders, and janitors. Story 56. Once, I was with my partner. I got up and started pouring myself some water from a filter, and the lid came off. Water went everywhere, all over me, the kitchen counter, and the floor. I started to panic and immediately began apologizing profusely. I grew up in a not great home, and a similar mistake there would have led to a shouting match and me scrubbing the entire kitchen on my hands and knees. My partner looked up when I spilled it, paused, then started laughing uncontrollably. They came over, stepped over the water, and gave me a hug, saying, "It's okay. Accidents happen. Come sit with me. The water will evaporate." That was the moment I knew I wanted to marry them. Story 57. When someone does something to cheer you up without being asked, it means a lot. I go through depression spikes, and my boyfriend just knows what I need, even when I don't. Right now I am in a bubble bath using his bottle, sipping a cider, and he made me laugh. Story 58. Anytime I mess up, my significant other tells me not to stress because we will always figure it out. Yesterday I lost his car key. It was the only one, and he wasn't angry or upset with me. He just told me not to feel bad because accidents happen and we will figure it out. Someone found the key in my workplace parking lot. Story 59. You crack a joke, and she knows it is a joke, so she laughs. Story 60. When there is no drama about how long to wait to reply to texts, and instead you just randomly text each other whenever you feel like it. Story 61. You still want to hang out with each other after sex, whether that is the next day or the next week. Story 62. They are responsible in their current relationships and are there for friends and family. They fit in well with your friends who think this is a good match. Story 63. Good sex is important and depends on honest communication with your partner. Do not fake pleasure in bed. You are doing both of you a disservice. Story 64. I miss someone after being without them for only a few hours. When they put real effort into the relationship, coming to see me sometimes, cooking for me or bringing food, it makes me appreciate how great the woman I'm dating is. I'm missing her even right now. Story 65. I have type 1 diabetes, and my husband took the initiative to learn all about my medication, dosing, and carbohydrate counting. 2 months into our relationship, he had my blood glucose readings sent to his phone. He drove in the middle of the night and woke me up when my blood glucose was low and my roommate would not answer. Aside from bragging about my amazing husband, a green flag is finding someone who understands how to support your needs and helps with your medical care. Do not be with someone who does too much or too little because you still need to be your own person. Story 66. If he contributes roughly equally domestically without even being prompted. Story 67. You accidentally break something, and they remain calm and collected. Story 68. They are comfortable around you and your family, and they treat you and others with respect. Story 69. They are curious about you. It is not just about the flow of a conversation. It is about having genuine, enthusiastic interest in you and the things you care about. They do not have to like the same things you like, but they should be able to engage with you even when it is not their thing. They have their own people. They do not rely on you completely for emotional support because they have other meaningful relationships they can turn to. They rely on you often, but they know when to give you some breathing room and when to turn to someone else for support if you are having a tough time. Story 70. He notices the little things. I have weird, little tendencies. One is that I have to blow out a drinking glass before I use it to ensure there is no dust or other particles in it, even if it is stored upside down or has just been washed. I do this every single time. One day I asked him to get me a drink, and I noticed he did the same thing. He was not doing it for himself or because my habit had rubbed off on him. He did it because he knew it was important to me. I had not realized he was watching so closely and taking note of things I think are so small, unimportant, and normal to me. That was a few years ago, and he is still noticing the little things. Story 71. You become comfortable quickly with each other when you are usually very awkward around new people. Story 72. I would like to officially bury this note in this thread. I feel validated that I was right to leave my previous relationships and that the one I am in now is magical and good. Story 73. They do not project their emotions onto you. They genuinely listen when people speak, and they treat you and those around them with respect. Story 74. Inviting a child from a previous relationship on dates. My current husband always made sure I brought my son with us to dinners, lunches, the beach, and so on. He immediately bonded with our son. We have been married for 10.5 years. I understand that he should not take on the father role since my son's father is still in the picture. But my husband was not about to ignore him or make him feel as if he did not belong. My son was only 1 year old, so he did not think it was strange or feel like a third wheel. Story 75. The two things that matter to me are that I have not been attracted to another man since being with my fiancé, and the little things he has remembered. He brings me my favorite drink and stayed by my side in the hospital when he was clearly uncomfortable. He does things for me without my having to say anything, simply because he loves me and wants to see me happy. That means more to me than anything. Story 76. When disagreements do not turn into fights, and you are able to share your feelings openly without fear of being attacked. Story 77. Respect, consent, and boundaries. Never be with someone who demeans or belittles you, even as a joke. They should not put their needs ahead of yours, and you should not put your needs ahead of theirs. Above all, they should support and encourage you. I saw all of this in my husband when we met around 2008, even though we were young teenagers back then, and now he is even more amazing. Story 78. Everybody is a little crazy, but are they your kind of crazy? I mean this seriously. We all have things we are particular about. If the person you are seeing shares your energy about a particular issue, or respects it and tries to meet you where you are, they are probably a keeper. If you are comfortable being goofy with each other, that is also a good sign. Story 79. While many of these are positive qualities in a relationship, I feel that the examples people give are not early green flags. For example, going on a long trip and still getting along at the end is a great sign, but are you really going on a long trip with someone you just started seeing? Early green flags I think of include treating restaurant staff with respect, being punctual, and not pressuring you for information you are not comfortable sharing or for things you do not want to do. These are things you can notice in a date or two that show you are with a decent person who takes your time seriously. Story 80. Feeling you can be your true self around the person, without games or dishonesty. Story 81. When someone makes a mistake, apologizes without making an excuse, and tries to correct it moving forward, you wonder, what the hell are you doing with me, you wonderfully mature human? Story 82. A disturbing trend I did not know was becoming more common is significant others checking each other's phones. My wife and I have been together for almost 4 years, and one of the first things she noticed was that I never checked her phone. She told me that her previous boyfriends checked her phone almost every day. I later learned from mutual friends that this is increasingly common. My advice: do not check each other's phones. If you do not trust someone, do not date them. There can be no love without trust. Greek proverb. Story 83. An early green flag for my current boyfriend was that he dressed nicely for our dates. I did not need him to wear a three-piece suit, but putting in the effort to look nice for me was refreshing, especially on that first date. I had been on enough first dates where the man wore gym shorts to grab drinks, and it felt like he did not care about himself or what I thought of him. Story 84. This is my first comment on Reddit, but I had to share. Comfortable silence and laughing together are essential. 2019 would have been our 40th wedding anniversary. My husband Michael passed away in 2017. He was the best person I ever met, and we were fortunate to have been true soul mates. Story 85. On our second date, we got a bit more tipsy than planned, and I made a move. He told me he wanted to wait until we were sober and make sure it was because I actually liked him. Since then, we have been taking it slow, and I like him more for it. Story 86. If someone makes you feel like no other man has treated you this well, I'm shocked at how low my standards were before meeting him. He makes me want to be a better person, and he makes me feel beautiful. Every moment is so fun. Haha. Speak of the devil. He texted me right now. Story 87. Being embarrassed by past behavior, while still able to discuss what was learned from it, is a sign of maturity. For example, I used to think edgy jokes were funny, but after reflecting I see they are not worth potentially hurting other people. Those who can self-assess and grow make the best and healthiest long-term relationship partners. Story 88. It is all about goals. Do they have goals? So what are they, and would you be excited to help make them happen? Finally, can you see them doing the same for your goals? Story 89. They take responsibility when they do or say something that upsets you, without making it about themselves. If they pull the victim card and try to make you feel bad for them when they are the one in the wrong, it is not a healthy dynamic. Open and honest communication by both parties about their feelings is key to making any relationship long-lasting, whether romantic or not. Story 90. I do not know about green flags, but normally, not during the coronavirus pandemic, sadly, the best method is to see how they treat the waiter. That says a lot about them. Story 91. Okay, so mine is incredibly ridiculous, but my boyfriend, now husband, didn't call me crazy or say I was overreacting about something minor. I rented a house from my dad, and about a year into it, he moved my brother into the home. I didn't have a choice. It was his house, and he could do whatever he wanted. My brother is 3 years older than me, but had not made the best financial decisions at that point and now lived with me. He started eating and drinking everything that was mine. I had to fight him to get half the utilities, and this was after him not paying anything at all for the first 8 months. It was always a fight. I had one rule: no food or drinks other than water in his bedroom. I'd helped him move out of multiple places, and I didn't want that bedroom to become like the places he'd been at before. He didn't respect the one rule. It was a pain. One day, I woke up at 5 a.m. to get ready for work and noticed that my new bag of goldfish was in the trash. He had eaten the whole bag that night after I went to bed. I'll admit I was emotional because my period was occurring, and because my food and drinks were always being taken by him. I immediately started crying over a bag of goldfish crackers. I called my dad. He worked early, so I didn't want to wake him, and I was hysterical on the phone. I was 26 years old, crying on the phone early in the morning to my dad, who was gravely concerned that something horrible had happened. All I could get out between sobs was that he had eaten my goldfish. My dad was super nice and told me he'd handle it, and I went to work, but every time I thought of it, I would start tearing up at work. I had texted my boyfriend about it while I was at work. He sent flowers to my workplace, and when I got home, he had wine and 2 bags of goldfish crackers, and then cuddled me on the couch while we drank. Green flags all the way. A lot of things had built up over time, and the goldfish were just the last straw that broke me, but also his 26-year-old girlfriend was hysterical over goldfish crackers. So, story 92. When someone does things for you because they know you need them without being asked, it shows care. My now husband, who was my boyfriend of 2 weeks at the time, washed my car one day without me asking. He detailed and waxed the entire car. He often does things for me without my asking, noticing what will make my life easier and taking care of it. Story 93. When you are both genuinely happy to see each other after not meeting for a period of time because of work, life, and other commitments. Story 94. This is an example of how, when a small annoyance or a miscommunication occurs, communicating about it and resolving it in a healthy manner matters. When I first started dating my girlfriend and we were not exclusive yet, someone sent me a message while we were lying together that was somewhat flirtatious. She could not help but notice because our faces were so close as I looked at my phone, and I saw her expression change. I knew she would not be upset with me because we had just started dating, but I could tell she felt a certain way, so I addressed it immediately. We had a positive conversation about exclusivity and where we wanted the relationship to go. Not letting issues build up and go unaddressed is key. Story 95. I almost broke up with my now husband when we first started dating because I had never been with someone who was genuinely nice to me and clearly wanted to be with me. Freaked me out. Luckily, my therapist talked me out of making any stupid decisions. Story 96. Maturity. You will not know if your partner is honest until they have a reason to lie to you. You will know how mature your partner is the first time you have to cancel plans. Story 97. Take the green flags you see in stride. Either I convinced myself of this, or my ex was truly a narcissist who tried to project certain qualities more intensely. A lack of red flags can itself be a green flag. Sorry if that sounds pessimistic. Story 98. You can agree to disagree. You want to spend time with them. You genuinely enjoy their company. Story 99. When I was dating my wife, she heard kittens crying from inside her wall. She was renting the place. She insisted I tear through the wall to rescue them immediately. 5 hours later, with a significant repair bill and 2 newly adopted wild kittens, I knew she was a keeper. Kindness is the biggest green flag. Whether someone is mean or kind, it will surface later in a relationship. Story 100. Being able to laugh during sex was important to me. People make it out to be a very serious thing, but things happen. A reckless knee, weird noises, or awkward dirty talk does not have to be embarrassing. That was something I felt was really special between my late partner and me. If something went wrong, we usually laughed it off and continued. It was great. Story 101. Right after I met a man just over 4 years ago, I texted my best friend, "I think I just met my future husband." I had never said anything like that before, but the feeling and connection I had immediately let me know I should see where this could go, even though I planned to move hours away in less than 5 months to begin graduate school. We are getting married in 11 days. Story 102. 6 weeks into dating him, we were having dinner at my place when my best friend called to tell me her mother had died after an unexpected but drawn-out battle with sepsis. He held me while I cried for 20 minutes straight, then went home when I told him I wanted to be left alone. When I changed my mind, he came back to hold me again. He held me that night without making it weird or about himself, doing nothing but supporting me perfectly. 3 weeks later, when another friend's mother died by suicide 2 days before Christmas, he held me again. In the months after, when my job hit fever pitch, he helped cook dinners for me to come home to even though we did not live together yet, and he had not cooked much in his life. I am not saying that every green flag needs to be an act of service. It was how he handled these tough situations with a new girlfriend, being completely selfless, empathetic, and adaptive to my needs, that showed me he was and is the real deal. We are at 3.5 years now, and I cannot wait to make it 35 or more years. Story 103. I am on the autism spectrum. A few weeks ago, I was talking with a woman and I had listed it in my Tinder bio. Early in the conversation, she asked what I did or did not want her to do, and whether there was anything I wanted her to know about the autism spectrum. Story 104. This is biased towards straight women, but if the man you are seeing has many platonic female friends, it shows that women trust him. Story 105. Accountability and respect for boundaries are not present here, so I wanted to add that. When you repeatedly blow off your partner to go drink and party with friends, and you are not willing to sit down and have an adult conversation about the need for change, that is a red flag. If you are willing to sit down and say, "Hey, I am sorry I did this. I occasionally want unstructured time with my friends and have been too afraid of being judged to say so," that is something a partnership can work with. You may still find your lives are not compatible, but being honest about your needs and taking responsibility when you do things that are unacceptable is a critical part of being equal partners in an adult relationship. Story 106. They are not over the top infatuated with you but just enthusiastic. It is not sexy, but they should be able to manage their emotions and have realistic expectations. Narcissists, people pleasers, or anyone with a personality disorder may give you whatever you want at the beginning of a relationship. This is called love bombing. Soon they may ignore you or lash out if you do not give them the attention they want. Story 107. Are they willing to accommodate your differences? I am a vegetarian and my husband is not, which is inconvenient for him because he likes to cook. But he works around it and always makes an alternative version of his dish for me. He now does this for our fussy children as well. The main point is he does not try to convert me and I do not try to convert him. We accept each other's choices even when they are different from our own. Story 108. My now husband lived just down the hall from my ex in an apartment complex near our college campus. My ex was emotionally and verbally abusive, and I very much wanted to avoid him, but I also did not want to tell this amazing man about my baggage and scare him off on our first date. On our first date, we were driving around and he asked where we should go next. I shyly said, "Just not your apartment, okay? I do not want to run into someone," and he said he was not even thinking about it. We ended up talking until dawn that night in his car at a nearby park. Years later, I asked him if he knew I was avoiding my ex or afraid of running into him at his complex. And he said, "Of course. I did not know the details, but I knew you had broken up and I knew you would not want to see him. Subtleties. Much appreciated. We have been married for 14 years. Story 109. He never made me the butt of jokes, even when it would have been in good fun. When we were out with a group of friends and everyone was joking with or at their partners, he always complimented me on how wonderful, pretty, or smart I was instead of saying something negative. I had never experienced that before, and it was a total game changer. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.